It was Mother's Day when the idea first came to me. I wanted to do something special for my mom, something that would give us a memory we could hold on to, something that felt warm and peaceful. So I decided I'd take her and my sister on a beach trip for the 4th of July. It wasn't cheap, booking a hotel room near the beach during the holiday, but I didn't care. I wanted to give my mom the trip she said she wanted, to let her hear the waves and smell the salt in the air, even just for a couple of days. I booked the room under my name and on my card, feeling proud as I closed the confirmation email. It felt like a grown-up gesture, something that would bring us closer as a family. My sister, when I told her about it, seemed excited. "Oh, that sounds fun," she said, texting me back almost immediately, adding a beach emoji like everything was fine. Even though she had a 10-day Pacific Northwest trip coming up just days later, she said she was in, and even Venmo'd me her share of the room. For a moment, I allowed myself to believe this trip would be different, that maybe, for once, there wouldn't be tension or awkwardness, that maybe my sister and I could get along, that my mom wouldn't have to play referee, that we could just be three women at the beach, laughing, resting, being family. I started planning what we could do. Early morning walks on the sand, maybe a sunset dinner, sitting on the balcony with coffee while we listened to the ocean. In those moments, I let myself believe this would be the trip that would smooth over the rough edges between us, even if just for a few days. And I think that's what hurts the most now, because I didn't know then that this small act of trying to do something good would turn into yet another family mess. I didn't know that what I saw as a gift would become a battlefield. I didn't know how quickly this dream would slip through my fingers. But for that brief moment, I was just a daughter trying to give her mom a beach trip. And for a moment, I thought it would be enough. After I booked the room, I texted my sister the details, the dates, the location, what the split would be. I held my breath as I hit send, waiting to see if she would make a fuss, complain about the price, or give some vague reason why she wasn't sure if she could make it. Instead, she replied almost instantly, "Sounds good, just send me the amount." She even added a beach wave emoji, which made me smile. It felt like she was genuinely excited, like maybe she was looking forward to spending time with us. A few minutes later, I saw the notification pop up on my phone. Venmo, $150 from sister. That little notification felt like a promise that she was in, that she was committed to coming. It felt like maybe we would have a trip without drama, without tension, without the uncomfortable silences that usually happen when she and I are in the same room for too long. I started daydreaming about the trip again. Early morning beach walks, collecting shells, maybe even taking a photo together, something we could send to family without it being fake. I let myself hope, because when she sent that payment, it felt like she was telling me, "I want to be there," like maybe this time she would actually show up, physically and emotionally. And for a few weeks, it seemed like everything was on track. My mom was excited, asking what she should pack. I was looking up local restaurants we could try, planning small things we could do that wouldn't cost too much, but would make the trip feel special. And my sister, she didn't say much about it after sending the money, but she didn't say she wasn't coming either, and that felt like enough. I should have known better. I should have known that money doesn't always mean commitment, and that excitement can be a mask people wear when it's convenient. Because looking back, that Venmo payment wasn't a promise. It was just the opening move in a game I didn't even realize we were playing. And soon, that payment would turn into a request for it back, paired with drama, manipulation, and the same old family cycle I was tired of repeating. But in that moment, I didn't know any of that yet. All I knew was that my sister had paid her share for the beach trip, and I thought it meant we were finally going to have a good time together. I wanted to believe it. About a month before the trip, the cracks started to show. We were all at my mom's house, just a normal visit, nothing special. I was in the kitchen making coffee while my sister scrolled on her phone, half listening to the conversation. That's when she said it. "You know, I might not even go on that beach trip." She said it with a laugh, her eyes still glued to her screen, like it was a joke. I paused, coffee cup in hand, trying to figure out if she was serious. I searched her face for any sign that she was kidding, but she gave me nothing, just a smirk and a shrug. "What do you mean?" I asked carefully. "Oh, you know, with my Pacific Northwest trip coming up, I might need to save money," she said. Another laugh following like it was a throwaway comment. My mom didn't say anything, just shifted in her seat, looking down at the floor like she always does when my sister says something she doesn't want to address. I forced a laugh, trying to keep it light. "Well, you've already paid, so you better come," I joked. But inside, something in me sank. Because I know my sister, and I know how these jokes usually work. It's never really a joke. It's her way of testing the waters, of planting a seed, of seeing how I'll react before she decides what she's actually going to do. That evening, I tried to shake it off. I told myself she wouldn't back out. She had already paid. And she knew how much this trip meant to our mom. I tried to silence the voice in my head whispering, "She's going to ruin this." Because I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that after everything, after the effort and money and planning, she would pull something like this. So I pushed it down. I told myself I was overthinking, being paranoid, reading too much into a joke. I wanted to believe that, just this once, things would be different, that she would actually show up, and that we would have a peaceful, drama-free trip. But in the pit of my stomach, I felt it. I felt that this was the beginning of her backing out. That this joke was her way of testing how far she could push before walking away, leaving me and my mom to deal with the fallout. And the worst part, I already knew my mom would let her get away with it. It was a hot day when it happened. I went over to my mom's house. Just a normal visit, trying to keep the peace, trying to pretend like everything was fine. My sister was there too, helping our mom install the window AC unit. At least, that's what she said she was doing. The air was thick, not just with heat, but with tension, the kind you can feel in your chest, the kind that makes you hyperaware of every movement, every word, every glance. I tried to help, to make it go faster, to be useful, thinking maybe it would be a normal family moment. That's when it happened. She was holding the divider piece, you know, the part that folds out to the edge of the window around the unit, and I was trying to adjust the side so it would fit properly. And then she slammed it down. On my fingers. Hard. The pain was immediate and sharp, shooting up my arm, making my eyes water as I yanked my hand back. "What the hell?" I shouted, clutching my fingers. She just looked at me, that smug little smirk on her face, the one she uses when she wants to act like she didn't mean it. But you know she did. "Oops," she said, barely hiding the laughter in her voice. My mom looked up, eyes wide, but said nothing. Nothing. I stood there, waiting for her to say something, to call out my sister for what she did. But instead, she just turned back to the unit, pretending like it didn't happen, pretending like I was the problem for reacting. My fingers were throbbing, but I didn't want to give my sister the satisfaction of seeing me cry. So I turned to leave the room, needing space, needing air. And as I walked past her, she stuck out her foot. She tripped me, and I fell hard, catching myself on the doorway, pain radiating up my wrist. That was it. That was the moment everything inside me snapped. "What is wrong with you?" I yelled, my voice shaking with anger and betrayal. She just laughed, that fake, dismissive laugh, while my mom said nothing, her silence echoing louder than any words. That day, it became clear. This wasn't about a beach trip anymore. This was about a pattern. About how my sister has always gotten away with everything while I'm expected to swallow my anger to keep the peace. And I realized I was done pretending. After she tripped me, the house felt like it went silent, even though the TV was still on in the background, even though the AC was humming. I stood there, gripping the doorframe, my wrist throbbing, my fingers still sore from where she slammed them. My sister looked at me with that smug face, that little smirk that said, "What are you going to do about it?" And my mom, she just stood there, frozen, refusing to look me in the eye, refusing to say anything. The silence was worse than the fall, because it was the same silence I had felt my whole life. The same silence when my sister made snide comments, when she ruined family gatherings, when she lashed out and then pretended it didn't happen. The same silence when I was told to just let it go. "Don't make a scene," she didn't mean it. But I had had it. "Are you serious right now?" I yelled, my voice shaking, tears threatening to spill. Not because I was weak, but because I was so angry. "She just tripped me, and you're going to stand there and say nothing." My mom opened her mouth, closed it, then finally whispered, "Can we please not do this right now?" And my sister, she laughed. She laughed. "You're so dramatic," she said, rolling her eyes, brushing past me like I was nothing, like what she did was nothing. That was the moment I realized. If I went on that beach trip, it would be me, sitting there quietly, swallowing every rude comment, every fake laugh, every passive-aggressive jab, while my mom pretended everything was fine. It would be me paying for the room, paying for the gas, paying for the emotional cost while my sister ruined it, and my mom let her. And I decided right then, I wasn't doing it. Not this time. Not for the sake of keeping the peace. Not at the cost of my own peace. As I left that day, my sister's Venmo request came in $150. Her portion of the room she was now demanding back. I stared at it, my hands still sore. and realized she was never planning to go on that trip. She was never planning to make it easy. She was never planning to let me, or my mom, have peace, because she couldn't stand to see me happy, without her finding a way to ruin it. And my mom, she was never going to hold her accountable. I wish I could say I was surprised when the Venmo notification came through. But honestly, I wasn't. It was the day after the fight. My hand was still sore, my wrist tender where I caught myself after she tripped me, and I was replaying everything in my head, trying to decide what to do about the trip. That's when my phone buzzed. Venmo, payment request $150 from sister. The note she added was short. My share of the room. That was it. No apology, no explanation, no acknowledgement of what she had done. Just a cold, bold demand for her money back. And that was when it clicked for me. She never planned to go on that trip. She knew she had a 10-day Pacific Northwest trip coming up, and she didn't want to spend a dime more than she had to before leaving. She paid me back on Mother's Day to look like the supportive daughter, to play the part, to keep up appearances. But deep down, she was never coming. She started making jokes about not going to test the waters, to see if she could back out without looking bad. Then she escalated it, picking a fight, slamming my fingers, tripping me, creating chaos so she could have an excuse to pull out. And the moment she saw I wasn't going to just shrug it off and pretend it didn't happen, the moment she realized I wasn't going to let her get away with it this time, she decided to cut her losses and get her money back. Because to her, it was just about the money. To her, it was never about spending time with me or our mom. It was never about building memories or having a peaceful weekend together. It was about making sure she didn't have to spend money on something that wasn't all about her. I stared at that Venmo request, my thumb hovering over the screen. My first instinct was to decline it, to refuse, to make her deal with the consequences for once. But then I thought about the fight it would cause. I thought about my mom, who would call me, begging me to just pay her back to keep the peace, telling me it wasn't worth the drama. And I realized it wasn't worth the drama, not because I was scared of it, but because I was done letting her drag me into her chaos. So with a deep breath, I hit accept. I let her have the $150 back, because that was the price I was willing to pay to cut her out of this trip, to free myself from the obligation of pretending everything was fine, to stop funding her manipulation. That $150 was my ticket to peace. And it was the moment I decided that if I went on that beach trip, it would not be with her. After I sent the $150 back, I thought maybe, just maybe, it would be over, that we could all just move on. But that's not how it works in my family. A few days later, I went over to my mom's house. I don't know why I did, maybe out of habit, maybe hoping we could clear the air. She was sitting in her chair, scrolling on her phone, the TV playing quietly in the background. She looked up at me, her eyes tired, like she was waiting for me to bring it up so she wouldn't have to. "I heard you gave your sister her money back," she said softly. "Yeah," I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. She wasn't going, it didn't make sense for her to pay. She nodded, looking back down at her phone, like that was the end of it. But it wasn't. "Mom," she slammed my fingers in the AC and tripped me. I said, unable to hold it in any longer. "Are we just going to pretend that didn't happen?" She sighed, that long, heavy sigh she does when she doesn't want to deal with something. "Can't you just let it go?" she said, her eyes pleading with me. "No, Mom, she hurt me on purpose." I snapped, the hurt and frustration boiling over. "And you didn't say anything, you just stood there." She didn't deny it. She didn't even try to explain. She just whispered, "You know how she is." That sentence, that one sentence that has been used to excuse everything my sister has done for as long as I can remember. You know how she is. When she ruined birthdays with her drama. When she borrowed money she never paid back. When she made snide comments at family dinners. When she physically hurt me, a grown adult, and laughed about it. And every single time, my mom's response was the same. You know how she is. And every single time, I was the one who had to be the bigger person. The one who had to swallow my anger. The one who had to let it go for the sake of keeping the peace. Except it was never about peace. It was about control. It was about maintaining the illusion of a family that was fine, even if it meant letting one person wreak havoc, while everyone else stayed silent. That day, sitting in her living room, I realized something. The double standard wasn't going to change. My mom was never going to hold my sister accountable. And as long as I kept letting it happen, I would always be the one paying the price. Emotionally, financially, physically. "I'm done, Mom," I said quietly, standing up. "Until she is held accountable, I'm done." She didn't try to stop me as I walked out the door, because deep down she knew I meant it. And for the first time, I meant it too. When I left my mom's house that day, it felt different. There was no dramatic door slam, no yelling in the driveway, no tears running down my face. Just quiet, a heavy, necessary quiet. Because for the first time, I wasn't walking away feeling guilty. I was walking away free. I went home, sat on my couch, and stared at the hotel reservation confirmation still pinned to my fridge. A reminder of the trip I had planned with so much hope, so much intention, trying to give my mom a memory she kept saying she wanted. But now, every time I looked at it, I didn't see the ocean or sunsets. I saw the moment my sister slammed my fingers. I saw the smirk on her face when she tripped me. I saw my mom's silence. And I felt the years of swallowing my feelings, of taking the blame, of paying the emotional cost for everyone else's behavior just to keep the peace. But I wasn't going to do it anymore. So I picked up my phone and texted my mom. I'm not going to the beach with her until there's accountability. I'm not going. I'll either cancel the room or take friends. I stared at the message before hitting send, my thumb hovering for a moment. That old fear creeping in, fear of being the problem, fear of the backlash, fear of the guilt trip. But then I thought, if speaking the truth makes me the problem, I'm okay with that. I hit send. Seconds later, the delivered notification popped up. And then silence. For hours, she didn't respond. And in that silence, I felt my chest unclench for the first time in weeks. Because I wasn't going to chase them for a response, or beg for understanding, or explain why I needed to protect myself. It wasn't about a beach trip anymore. It was about my peace. It was about choosing myself. And it was about finally setting a boundary that should have been set a long time ago. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about what the trip could have been and what it actually turned into. And I realized I didn't regret it, because I would rather go alone than drag myself through another situation where I was expected to carry the weight of everyone else's dysfunction, while pretending everything was fine. This time, I wasn't going to do that. The silence didn't last forever. The following Monday, I was at work, trying to focus, pretending that everything was fine, answering emails, sipping lukewarm coffee, moving through the day like I wasn't carrying the heaviness of family tension on my shoulders. That's when I saw it. A text from my mom. I called the hotel and canceled the reservation, even if it means losing people who only loved me when I was easy to control. And if my mom and sister think I'm paranoid for seeing the manipulation clearly, so be it. I'd rather be paranoid and peaceful than keep pretending everything is fine while sacrificing my own sanity. This was never just about a beach trip. It was about me finally realizing that I am allowed to walk away from people who refuse to take responsibility for their actions, even if they're family. And I did. And I will keep doing it. Because peace is worth it. And I am worth it.